Hey guys, it is Kevin with Mix Coach. Hey, listen, I know it's been a while since I've put out a podcast, but I just can't seem to get this thought off my mind. So earlier this week, I found out that one of my musical heroes, Mike Busbee, or just goes by the Busbee with a lowercase b, songwriter, producer, music executive, passed away this week. I heard earlier this summer that he had some sort of illness, some sort of cancer, and that it was far along. It was stage 4 at the time, but I kept doing Google searches and trying to find out his health, prayed for him, and then I found out earlier this week that he's passed away of glioblastoma, which is an aggressive form of brain cancer. And I guess if the truth is told, I've been mourning it. I found myself several times with tears in my eyes, listening to his songs, asking God, why? How could something like this happen? We've all had that question before, and it's kind of struck me as odd that I've responded this way, I guess. But so this podcast is specifically for. Sorry, I'm sitting in my car right now doing this podcast. You might hear some traffic noise around me, but so about Busbee. I mean, his birth name is Michael James Ryan Busbee, and I kind of got turned on to him, or started researching him, really. I'd heard his music for a while, some of the stuff he had done. He wrote Holy, Holy, for Florida Georgia Line. It became a huge hit. But at the time he was doing country and stuff, he was doing, like Lady Antebellum, practically put Maren Morris on the map, as well as Carly Pierce and several other artists. Had some songs and productions from Rascal Flatts, Keith Urban, Carrie Underwood. I mean, the list is astounding, and it's impressive. But at the same time he's doing all this killer country stuff, he's also doing Pink and Shakira and Christina Aguilera, and it was just amazing the breadth of his reach in music. Just a great writer, and I think what impressed me the most about him is after I found out that, who is this guy doing all these different genres of music and absolutely killing it? Who is this guy? And so when I started doing research on it, found podcasts, found YouTube clips and stuff of him working in the studio. And this is just what I do. It's what an ADD mind like mine, it's how I operate. I get these micro obsessions, and I want to find out as much as I can about a certain subject. And the subject this past year has been Busbee. And any of my friends can tell you, that if I could read their mind, they would probably say, would you just shut up about this Busbee guy? But anyway, so I was really doing some research on him. But I found some podcasts where he'd been talking. He was on Pensado's Place a couple of times, and he just seemed to be so down to earth and so approachable, and just have his ducks in a row and in the right order. As a matter of fact, I was listening on a podcast from Bobby Bones, who is a podcaster, host guy from Nashville, won Dancing with the Stars last year, 2018. Busbee was on there on his show, and at the end of the show, he asked him, "So what's the plan for you? What's the next thing for you?" Because in the context of everything they had talked about for the previous hour, there'd been hit after hit, and just his career was just like steamrolling. And so Bobby Bones asked him what was next for him, and he said, "You know what? At the end of my life, I just want to be known as a good father, married to the same woman, and have a happy wife and happy kids." And I think that kind of surprised Bobby Bones. It surprised me, to tell you the truth, because usually someone with that track record, their family is secondary. But he brought up the example. He said, I don't remember the exact year, but he said, "Do you remember in March in 1989 what the number one song was?" And and they started researching it and stuff. But the fact is, nobody remembers that, but your kids will remember you forever, and you make the biggest impact on them, not the national charts. And I just thought, wow, what a great perspective. And I think that's why I gravitate towards people like this, people that seem to be doing it so right, seem to be checking so many boxes as far as their career goes. And anyway, so I became a little obsessed with him, knowing that he was that caliber of not only producer, songwriter, but person. He was just a great caliber person. So I loved some of his productions, especially on the Maren Morris thing. When I heard some of the Maren Morris Hero, coincidentally, her Hero record, Mike Busbee produced the whole thing. And the thing that struck me sonically about his record, that record, was it was so beautifully lo-fi sometimes. Some of the guitar tones seemed to be, and drum sounds seemed to be not huge all the time. Guys like me, I try to make my drum sound as big as much as I can, but he kind of, flipped the script a little bit and made the drum sound small to make the song pop out. And I just thought that was so cool. And some of his writing was just so clever. Influence, the amount of people that were seeking after him to just be a part of their music was great. And I've already mentioned his attitude. I saw a post. The last few nights I've just been going on Instagram and seeing what the hashtag RIP Busbee would bring up, because his record company Altadena, which was a Warner Chappell brand or co-venture or something like that, bringing up that, and Thomas Akins or Thomas Rhett shared a post that, or actually a text that Busbee had sent him saying that, hey, I don't know why this is random, but been thinking about you lately, and I've been praying for you and your family. And that just struck me as like, somebody that has as much influence as he does, to randomly text somebody and say, hey, I'm praying for you, just seems so like a guy I would want to get to know better. And hopefully it's something that I do more often than not. So I just thought that was really cool. So before I go on rambling, I do have a little bit of a point to this. I've had a bunch of heroes in my lifetime. I mean, just to name a few, and I'm not naming all of them, because heroes, I guess in my definition, is not somebody that I'm trying to emulate, but somebody that I admire, somebody that has done things that have shaped my career and what I've done, big or small. And some of these people maybe, and some of these people you don't know. But I remember when I was a kid, there was a guy named Kenny Henson with the Henson family, and he was just the coolest guy I've ever. I got to meet him a little later in his career, but he died early too. I just thought everything he did was great. He was a great singer. He was a great songwriter. His stage presence was incredible. And I think one of my things that I'm afraid I'm going to do is I'm going to approach a hero one day and come off as just a fanboy, and they'll put me in the category of just being another fan of theirs. And I always kind of waited sometimes until I could be the guy who was their contemporary, somebody that could help them, somebody that could work with them. And with Kenny, I think I waited too long. I wasn't in a position to be able to help him or work with him. And then he died of some cancer back in the mid-90s, and I've kicked myself, and I grieved over that too, because he was a big influence in my life. Another big influence for me when I was in college, late high school and all through college, and really even up through the 90s, was a guy named Keith Thomas, just a great producer, songwriter, executive producer. He did Vanessa Williams, Amy Grant. It's just Wikipedia who he is. He was just a killer musician. He is a killer musician, and I have reached out to him, and I'll cover that in just a little bit more detail in a minute. But through the years, Ricky Skaggs was always an influence of mine. I always thought he was one of the best musicians and performers, and I've got to meet him a couple of times, but I've never really gotten to hang out. And I've got more influences now. I mean, Chris Lord Alge, a mixer. I've always loved the way he mixes, and even though, he seems a little bit unapproachable and bigger than life, and I have never really talked to him, I still admire him from a distance. Guys like Jermaine Griggs, who's a business, teaches piano, but he's a great business guy. I mean, Graham Cochran is a guy I admire greatly, and he's one of these guys that I consider him a friend, but he's a hero of mine. And there was a country band back when I was in college named Restless Heart. I don't know if you remember them or not, but I actually got to work with them. I wouldn't consider as friends or anything like that. Only met them once or twice, but just some of my heroes. I know we all have heroes, but I was just going to tell you just a couple of stories about. And I think the point of this whole podcast, and not just to memorialize Busbee and for some reason put some closure on his life for my benefit, it's to say we've all got heroes. And in this world, the way we're connected now, we're not even 6 degrees of separation anymore. We're probably 1 or 2 degrees of separation from anybody that you want to know. So if you admire somebody, tell them, text them, call them out on social media. And even though it doesn't seem like it would be such a big deal to be such a small voice and such a small fish in such a big pond to tell somebody that you admire them, I think it does. I think it does mean something to people, even in this loud world of people, being able to have close access to everybody through social media. But keep in mind that there's a lot of critical voices to those people too, and your voice coming through saying, "Hey, I admire what you've done, and if there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know." I mean, we're all pretty close as far as that goes now. So if you have somebody that has influenced you, and you want to get to know them, and you want to at least tell them what kind of influence they've had on your life, don't wait too late. I feel like, I think the thing that pains me right now is that now I'm finding out that I have good friends that were good friends with him. I was 1 degree away from being able to meet another one of my heroes and be able to sit in the same room and watch the at least the magic in my mind, what they do in the studio or what they do with their business. It's that opportunity's gone now. So I think in closure, I would just encourage you, reach out to one of your heroes today. Just tell them that you admire them. And I don't think any positive words like that to somebody is ever wasted, no matter how big they are as a star, no matter how many compliments they get on a daily basis. I don't think it's lost. And even if they don't hear it, I think it'll do you good to reach out and say, you know what, I admire you as a whatever. So I guess just in summary, to put a pin in this and in this podcast is just to say, reach out to one of your heroes today. Tell them you admire them. And yeah, that's it. So sorry for the rambly long podcast. I just feel like I had to get this out. I had to let this be kind of a tribute to Busbee, a guy who didn't know who I was, but who influenced me and will continue to influence me through the music that he's created. So, Busbee, wish I could have met you. I will enjoy your music for a long time, and you have been an inspiration to me, and thanks for all you've done.